Hello again, everyone. This is Chris Scher, and that is Robert Harding in the flesh.
Sporting the Blues today.
I know, we're not wearing green for the Irish. Sorry, folks. I'm not Irish.
Me neither.
I married Irish, which is the next best thing, you know.
If you say so.
I love my lassie, I'll tell you that. Anyways, this is the Citizen Sports Weekly for March 17th, 2016. It may be St. Patrick's Day, but I think we've caught March Madness.
The madness.
The madness, and and the reason I think they call it March Madness is because after you do your bracket and you start seeing these games, come in, it's like you're mad because you screwed up your bracket again. So Robert and we did pick our brackets for the office pool here, all on the down low, and these are all for entertainment purposes only.
If you say so.
But we're going to go through our picks. I think we should do what our Final Four, our Elite Eight. How far back? I don't think you want to go through every single game.
Well, no, let's start with the upsets. What upset picks did you?
I had Iona beating Iowa State. Not too swift there. We've already lost that one. What else did I have here that was a bit of an upset? I got Hawaii beating Cal.
Wow. 2 13s you picked.
I like
bold.
I like the Rainbow Warriors, and to me they'll always be the Rainbow Warriors. I've actually been on that campus, pretty cool place. I wish I could have went to school there,
Wow.
But I did pick Hawaii, and unfortunately Iona. What else did I pick? I had to pick one.
Got the Zags.
I got the Zags. Yeah, I got Gonzaga beating Seton Hall. Yep, I like them.
Got Northern Iowa on the other side.
Did I pick Northern Iowa?
Looks like it.
That's Nova. I don't know if
Northern Iowa, right there.
I did pick Northern Iowa, yes, over Texas, yes. They've been slumping. Texas has been slumping down the stretch. So I did pick a few upsets. What about you? What do you got?
Well, I've got South Dakota State over Maryland.
The Jackrabbits.
I can't pass on the Jackrabbits. Such a great name.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason I picked them, obviously. I did look into I did do some research, I should say.
Oh, we all did research.
Did pick Yale over Baylor, which,
yes,
as of right now, is looking good.
Yes.
When this video goes up, we'll see how smart I look.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I did pick Iona. I did pick Gonzaga. We'll see how that turns out. But, yeah, those are probably the biggest ones.
Mm-hmm.
I picked some 9s over 8s, but, yeah, that's not a huge upset.
And we both picked Syracuse.
And we both picked Syracuse.
What are we? We both picked Syracuse.
It's the air in this office.
I want to think that game against Pittsburgh. I mean, the way they came back, the way they fought. This team has had some good wins. Okay, the UConn and Texas A&M and they beat Wisconsin? No, they lost to Wisconsin.
They lost to Wisconsin at home.
But they played some good games and Dayton.
Beat Duke.
And with all due respect to Dayton, Bob Sosey's alma mater, former Auburn High graduate, New England Patriots voice.
Shout out.
Dayton grad. Dayton beat Syracuse 2 years ago. They played great defense, and Syracuse didn't have a 3, and they beat Syracuse. I want to think that they're going to do better this time, so we both picked Syracuse. So you want to start with our Elite Eights and then break it down to the 4 and then the 2 and then
Let's
the 1?
do it.
All right. So my Elite Eight, in the South, I've got Kansas, Miami. In the West, I have Baylor, which is tentatively hanging by a thread against Oklahoma. And the East, I have North Carolina and Kentucky, and West Virginia and Xavier. In the Midwest, Virginia and Purdue, and Gonzaga and Michigan State.
Well, you went into your Sweet 16 there, on the right side.
Oh, sorry, messed it up. So basically, I have Kansas, Oklahoma in one side of the Final Four, and I have Kentucky and Michigan State and the other side of the Final Four. And then I have Kansas, Michigan State for the final, and I have Kansas winning the whole thing.
Well, that's mine. So
wow, how about that? What a coincidence. I could say great minds think alike, but,
Our Elite Eights are different, though, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because you have Miami in the South, where I have Arizona.
Right.
In the West, you have Baylor, where I have Oregon.
Yep.
We went with at least we both have highlighter yellow jerseys in that place. We agreed on Kentucky, West Virginia. I have Purdue, where you have Virginia in the Midwest. Yeah. So,
That was a tough game. That's going to be a good game to watch. Both those teams, I think, are very, very good. And I think that's going to be one of those coin flip type games that either team could win. I just picked Virginia. I just think that they're going to beat Purdue in this game. But then I like Michigan State to beat Virginia. So
Yeah, yeah. Why did you pick Kansas over Michigan State in the title game?
I think it's such a good game. I mean, literally, you could flip a coin in this one. I think this game is going to be so evenly matched. And I researched the teams. I think Kansas is starting to peak now. I just think that they're starting to play the way they're capable of. Bill Self is, as you know, he's won a national title, as is Tom Izzo.
Right.
I just think these two teams are so evenly matched. I just think Kansas, maybe the Big 12 is a little better than the Big 10, just a little bit. That might help them out a little bit, but you literally could flip a coin. I hate to say this, but I think Kansas just has a little more talent than Michigan State, and maybe that's what will come through at the end there.
Yeah, for me it was the lineup that they have from top to bottom, and the contributions that they get. Good outside shooting team. They shoot the three very well, and in college basketball that's huge.
Yeah.
Especially in this tournament when you got to fend off some upset bids,
Mm-hmm.
and you play good teams like a Michigan State, who many experts said should have been a 1 seed.
Yeah.
So that would be an ideal championship game. Of course, in our case, it is the ideal championship game. But it's going to be an interesting tournament, I think.
I think it's going to be competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll have some upsets, as we do every year. But I think when it's all said and done, the powers are going to be there at the end. I mean, like I said, you can't go any. I think royalty of basketball: Michigan State, Kentucky, Kansas, Oklahoma. I mean, those are the four of the big powers. I mean, Oklahoma is a traditional basketball power, but they've had some good teams. And but when you have Kansas, Kentucky, I mean, obviously those are blue bloods of college basketball. And Michigan State, I mean, over the last 20 years, since Tom Izzo's been there, I mean, they've been one of the best teams in the country. So, it's tough to pick a non-traditional team to get to the Final Four like Butler has done in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and like George Mason did 10 years ago. I mean, it's just so tough. So, but we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe you will. I mean, I would say that anything can happen nowadays. Nothing surprises us. But I think when it's all said and done, there will be the traditional powers in the Final Four.
Yeah. If not Kansas and Michigan State, then who wins it? You think?
That's tough because Kentucky struggled in the middle of the season, but there's just so much talent on that team. It's like I said, there's a team that realistically could have ran the table last year and lost in the semis to Duke. It's tough. I mean, out of the teams that I think some of the teams I don't have going to the Final Four could win the whole thing. Virginia could win the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think. That right there. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, Oregon could get there. I mean, I am losing in the Sweet 16, but it's still tough. I think. I really think for my money, the Midwest is the toughest bracket. I mean, you look at the teams there: Michigan State, Purdue, Virginia. Those are that's a powerhouse bracket, part of the bracket, region there. So
that to me, and I agree with you. The tough thing here is Gonzaga's an 11 seed.
Yeah,
because they can really mess some things up. I mean, they get Seton Hall in the first round. That's a game that they can win.
Right.
We both have them winning. And then, they likely face Utah. And that's a game they can win, too.
And I've got Gonzaga winning that game.
Me, too.
Yeah.
So, it's a...
This is funny. I don't think our brackets have ever been so similar.
No.
It's weird.
It's a weird year. When I was looking at the way that they drew up these brackets and the teams that they led in, we kind of got into this last week, speculating about, Syracuse, of course, whether they would get in. But, it's just looking at the seeding and the teams that they put in the tournament, it really has made some of these decisions complex.
Yeah.
Like you look at, I have Arizona going in the Elite Eight. Well, they face Wichita State in the first round.
Yeah.
That's a game they could lose.
Yeah.
So, it really is a balanced tournament, I think. Any one of these top teams, whether it's Kansas, North Carolina, could win.
Yeah. Hey, let's touch upon the women real quick.
Yes.
Because we did talk about the Syracuse men briefly.
Right.
But the Syracuse women, and I wrote a column about this in today's Citizen, auburnpub.com. Syracuse women, their highest ever seed ever in program history. They're a 4 seed. They're hosting the first round or first 2 rounds of the NCAA's. They had to play Army tomorrow, which you would think they should win that game easily, and then they play the winner of Florida and Albany. Which is interesting, because obviously if you've watched this video, you know I am an Albany grad, a very proud Albany grad. And
the greatest of Danes.
The greatest, yes, the Great Danes. And most likely Florida will win. They're a 5 seed. But, Albany could pull the upset. They are a good team. But Syracuse playing at home, I'm curious how many people are going to turn out. And I wrote in the column today that it's just bad luck for them, because they're playing basically the same time as the men. The men play at noon, the women play at 2. So if you're a basketball fan, you only have a certain amount of time that you can watch a game. You're going to be watching the men most likely. And if you want to actually go to the game, then you got to take time off from work. If it was a night game, then I think they would have had a better turnout. It's just kind of sad, because this is a program that really deserves much more fervent support than they're getting here in Syracuse. I mean, they're overshadowed by the men. That's just basically what it comes down to. They're a team that has struggled until the last few years, and it takes time to build up interest in a program. But when you're playing in the shadow of Syracuse men, it is so difficult to get attention and get fan interest. So hopefully they'll have a good run. And if the Syracuse men lose early, I mean, like they don't make it out of the first weekend, which is a possibility, because if they win against Dayton, they played most likely Michigan State in the second round, which means I think they're going to lose. But I'd like to see the Syracuse women get on a run, at least get to the regional finals, and try to get some interest here, because they're worthy of interest in Central New York. And I think it'd be great if they could get a good crowd for these upcoming 2 games, and show that basketball fans in Syracuse care about women's basketball and men's basketball, because you can care about both. It's not an either or; it can be both.
Yeah. I think getting through those 2 games, winning, hopefully, both, and then that matchup, which looms against number 1 South Carolina in that region, will be a big moment for that program. And win or lose, I think it hopefully will give a boost to some folks in the Syracuse community to say, hey, you know what? We support our men, throughout the winter. We should be supporting our women too, because I mean the attendance, and this isn't a knock against the team.
750.
It's pathetic.
Yeah,
it's pathetic.
They average 750 fans a game. I
Yeah.
mean, there's high schools that average more than that in this area.
Yeah, I mean they deserve more attention. Yeah. I mean they've been a good team for the past few years, and you would have thought that maybe they would be able to build that up, and it just hasn't happened. And meanwhile the men, even as a mediocre team, draw 20,000, 22,000. So
that's tradition and history.
Yeah,
it has a lot to do with it. It takes, like I wrote, it takes time to build up fan interest where people are coming out. It takes years and years and years to build up that, and it's going to take time here in Syracuse, because you are playing in the shadow of the men. So, anything else you want to answer?
No. Looking forward to the games. I'll be
enjoy those baskets. This is one of the best weekends. I want to be parked in front of my TV this weekend, eating junk food and watching hoops, man. Oh, yeah.
It's a great weekend.
Life don't get any better than that, folks.
Yeah, I'll actually be on the road during the Syracuse game.
Oh, you are going to be going down south.
Terrible.
Okay. Hey, folks, enjoy the games. We'll see you next week.